Well, this is definitely one of my favorite things to make, this snowman pin. He's so cute, he's so cheery. And here are some of the tools you need. These are the needle felting needles, three different types of tools. This is the wool that I use. I like Harrisville wool. And that's the foam pad that you felt on. And some beads and the paint pen to make the eyes, and here's some embellishments and the felt for the hat, and fabric tack glue. To make the base of the head, the background, the face, you take some of the fleece. Now, I use Harrisville felting fleece because I just think it works the best. There was a store I used to get it from called The Yarn Tree, but she doesn't sell it anymore. But Halcyon Yarn in Maine sells it. And also Harrisville Designs sells it. So that's the wool I like to use, but there are other fibers that you can use. As long as it says that it's for needle felting, you just want coarser wool, not the fine merino top. That's better for wet felting. So here's my little disc, just about finished. Takes about 10 to 20 minutes to make this part. I like it very firm and felted very firmly. So it probably takes me longer than some people, but that's how I like it. So I also need this little hat, and this is some wool felt that I had. I like using this because the wool felt will felt to the head also. I can needle felt it to my snowman. And I think non-wool felt would also, like acrylic felt, would probably also attach. But I'm not really sure. So I only use this wool felt anyways, so I don't really know about the other felt, but it might work. You can also glue it on with fabric tack or a glue gun. So I cut a strip right there, a rectangular strip, and I'm using fabric tack to glue that together. And I also cut out the larger ring on the hat. I'm going to glue my little cylinder to that, and then this is going to be the top of the hat. And you can use a glue gun or fabric tack, or you could probably even use the Arlene's tacky glue, which is the other glue that I use, but I'm using fabric tack. Now, my fabric tack glue is a little bit old, and once it gets a little old, it's thicker, and it's perfect. That's how I love it, when it gets a little bit older, because when you buy it new, it still works great, but sometimes it's more fluid, so you sometimes have to hold something in place. But once it's thickened up like this a little bit, it still works really well, but nothing moves around. It just sticks together. And there's my little hat. It's all finished. Next, I'm going to make the nose, the carrot for the nose, and I'm just rubbing that together. So this is Harrisville fleece also, and I kind of rolled it between my fingers before I started felting it. And this probably takes under 5 minutes to do. And I'm just sort of felting together the tip of it. And I'm still going to do some felting on that once I attach it, but it's easier to do it once it's attached to the snowman. So I'm just trying to shape it a little bit, and you can also use your fingers to roll it between your fingers a little bit. So here's my little disc that I made, and here's my carrot nose, and I'm gonna needle felt that onto the white disc. And the base of that carrot is really wide, and I use this single needle to kind of get it all swept under the carrot part. I don't want the base of it to be so spread out, so I sort of reeled it in with my single needle, and I really enjoy doing this. I just like shaping things with the single needle. The tool that I probably use the most is the one with the 2 needles. I think the handle is just comfortable for me to hold, and even though I have the tool that has the 8 needles in it, I use the one with the 2 the most, even when I'm felting something bigger. And I think it has something to do with probably the needles that are in there. The needles come in different coarseness. So some of them are for the beginning of the needle felting. So like it's to kind of felt it together faster. And then some needles are for detail work. So it's possible that the tool that I have that has the 8 needles, it might have more delicate needles, because they don't seem to work as well as the one that has the 2 needles. Now I'm gonna make the scarf next. I add the scarf on there. I think it looks really cute, and I'm gonna use this nice blue wool. Love this color so much. And I want to make sure that I leave room for his mouth. I'm going to use tiny little glass beads that will look like cranberries for the mouth. I'm going to sew those on after I get the scarf on there. So I want to make sure I leave room for that. So here I'm using my tool that is my favorite tool. And as I said, I think I should really check and see, but I'm just too lazy. I just have never checked to see what kind of needles are in that other tool. But what I notice is this one seems to penetrate the wool better than the one that has the 8 needles, and I think that's why I like using it. Even though the one with the 8 needles should probably felt things faster. I've had that tool for about 4 or 5 years, and I still haven't checked what kind of needles are in it. Anyway, so I'm felting up this doesn't take long at all. This probably takes maybe 5 to 8 minutes to do this part. And again, I'm shaping it with my single needle. And then I do add another little flap to kind of make it look like a tied scarf. So I'm going to do that after I finish shaping this. And I really like this design, the way this comes out with a little scarf underneath. And then I'm, of course, going to add that hat that I made to it too. And then I also sew on beads for the eyes and the mouth. So that's just about ready. And as I said before, I like to felt it pretty firmly. I like it to be nice and tight. I just don't want it coming apart. I want it really felted well. So I just love the way you can shape this. It's really fun doing it. Totally enjoy it. I think you would too if you tried it. And the foam pad that I use, that's actually something I got at Joann's. I just got a block of foam that's used for upholstery, and I cut it into smaller blocks, and that's what I use. You can also use like a styrofoam block. I just prefer this, the foam. So this is going to be the little flap, and I'm going to make that exactly the same way. I'm always surprised how quickly this felts up. I think it's the needle that I'm using. It's a coarser needle. One time I did take the time to read what the difference is between the needles, and I can't remember what it said, but I know I ordered a bunch of needles after I read it that were suitable for what I use. So this is one of them, I'm sure. I'm trying to remember where I ordered the needles from. I might have ordered them from Halcyon Yarn. So I'm going to attach this way, and I love the way that looks. Those little two flaps that make it look like a tied scarf. And there it is. It's all finished. These are my tiny beads, and I use a really, really, really thin beading sewing needle. It works great. And the reason I have to use that is because the hole on these beads is so small. It's the only needle that'll fit through them. I love the way this mouth looks. It's supposed to look like cranberries, which it does. It's a perfect color. So I make it a smiley face. And then next I use these larger pearly beads, and those will be the eyeballs. And I put those on, and while I have the sewing needle attached, I also like to attach the hat, and I like to sew a little flower onto the hat. And so instead of cutting the string off and tying another knot, I just do it all in one session here. So here's my beautiful little velvet flowers, and I'm gonna need a bead for the center because it has a hole in the center. So that's the bead is holding that in place. And then I also tack the hat in a couple different places just to hold it in place. I am going to felt that to the head afterwards, the hat I mean, so it felts really easily right onto that white head. And there he is. He's so cute already, but when I put paint on the eyeballs, that's what really makes it come to life. This is a trim that I bought somewhere. I don't know where, but actually I think I know where I bought it. And I cut one of these flowers off, and I just attach it to the scarf, and I like the way this looks a lot. I like the way it goes with the other details that are on this. So I'm felting this on the front and the back, and now I'm putting on the eyeballs, and that's what really makes him come to life. I love making the face. They look so cute with those big eyes. There he is. So 2 little last steps that I need to do. One, of course, I have to glue the pin back onto it. And that's pretty easy. I use Gorilla Glue for that. And I'm using the Arlene's Tacky Glue. And I put a little glue between the eyeballs because they'll roll around if you don't do that. And that's it. And he's the cutest thing ever, isn't he? Makes a great present. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.